the problem there is that some of the things that he says really are bad. Like, I don't think that it's appropriate to talk about women the way that he talks about women. I don't think it's appropriate to talk about...
You mean the grab and pussy talk?
Yeah, basically.
But that's...
Basically.
The problem with that is he's talking to a dude and trying to make him laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, he's having a private conversation with a guy, and he's doing what he called locker room talk.
Yeah.
But guys talk shit, and they say things they don't really mean. And what he said was, and I'm not an apologist, just let me get this out of the way. What he said was, you can just grab them by the pussy, they let you. You could do anything that you want when you're a big celebrity.
Yeah.
You just grab them by the pussy.
Yeah.
Like, what he's saying is not, I grab women by the pussy and I sexually assault them. What he's just being totally outrageous. It's like a punchline for a joke. He's exaggerating the reality of the situation. He's saying he's so famous.
He's saying when you're as famous as me, you can do anything. You can grab them by the pussy, which implies that he's tried
they let you. He's saying they let you, meaning implying consent.
Right, I see.
He's not talking about sexual assault. So when people are saying, you know, he's doing sexual assault, no, he's talking about girls that are enthralled with the fact that they're around this guy who has his fucking name on skyscrapers and he flies around with a jet with his name on it. And if you're that type of woman, and there's that type of men, there's that type of women. It's not a gross generalization about men or women, but guaranteed there are some women that when they're in the face of a guy like Donald Trump, they react that way and they let him do anything they want and they love it. Yep. There is that possibility.
There is that possibility. I also thought that the phrasing of that term was kind of funny. Like, they let you grab them, but like, how do you grab a pussy exactly? Like, where do your fingers go? Like, where does the thumb? Who's doing like? So I just thought what it sounded to me like was someone who is inept sexually. Which by many accounts he is. Like, there are lots of accounts of like when he was married to or dating the most beautiful people, he'd be downstairs eating Cheetos, watching late night cable news while they were upstairs. Like,
yeah, but how do you believe that or not believe that? I mean,
just compare it to whether or not it comports with what else you know about him, which is that he's very image focused and cares a lot about being thought to be the best at everything and the most glamorous and the richest. So you would imagine that it would be consistent with his personality that he would want to present a front of being more of a slayer and more of a sexual demon than he actually is.
Sexual demon. That's a great name for a band.
Sexual demon. So the grab him by the pussy, it sort of reminded me a little bit of the way that 15-year-old boys would talk to each other.
Yeah.
Dude, I totally just grab her by the pussy, man.
Guys say ridiculous things that they don't mean to get other people to laugh.
I will grant you that.
And I'm sure girls do too.
I mean, my point about political correctness is that I don't think Trump is our best ambassador for the anti-political correctness brigade.
No,
right?
Agreed.
Like, and part of his rise, part of the backlash, is a backlash against the. You know, we've had so many conversations that we all know it by now. We're bored of like people who absolutely lose their. You know, just go crazy because you use the wrong transgender pronoun or something like that. Right. Or, you know, you say he instead of she or whatever it is. All these tiny, or microaggressions and stuff like that. Or all of that kind of bullshit, I think, gave rise to an environment in which people were so frustrated with political correctness that they unleashed, and it was like a pressure cooker exploding, and the Trump hair went everywhere. And
he's the Kraken.
He's the, exactly. But I don't think, you know, things would have been better if we hadn't gotten to that place and we could all just take a chill pill.
I think we need to learn, you know, and I think we need to make mistakes so that we can learn. One of the things that's really unfortunate is that he doesn't tell the truth, and that he's the president and he shows that you can just not tell the truth and be the president.
Yeah.
About all kinds of things.
Yeah.
The alternative facts analogy. You know, I mean, what? You know,
I'm trying to grapple with this on my podcast because I think what's dangerous about Trump is not just that he doesn't tell the truth, because as lots of people point out, many politicians don't tell the truth. It's that he doesn't even care that he's not telling the truth, and he doesn't behave as if there is such a thing really as truth. Like the other day, he talked about the warships that were heading for the Korean Peninsula. Did you see this story? He said that we've got this aircraft carrier which is going towards Korea. It was going in the opposite direction to Australia to not attack Australia, but do a military exercise with the Aussies. And then Sean Spicer got the press corps went crazy, and the White House correspondents, and Sean Spicer was like, well, he was saying that it had been heading, it was going to be going to the Korean Peninsula, but it was just on a detour. So he wasn't saying the actual direction of the aircraft carrier. He was saying that he was talking about the overall strategy of what, and like, poor old Spicy is out there trying to make Trump's statements comport with something, with reality in some way. But Trump is just an explosive, like, vomit machine, just tweeting out stuff that doesn't even have to map onto reality at all. And he almost seems to take pride, I think, in the fact that he can say, whatever, million people at the inauguration. When I started talking, the rain
most
stopped.
people ever.
And the sun. That was pretty good. Are you working on that, Joe?
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
I
It's
like
not
the
good.
impression.
It needs work.
It needs a little work, but everyone's got their Trump. But you know what I mean? He will say things and then almost take. I feel like he gets his rocks off through the sheer audacity of being able to say whatever the hell he wants and just make his opponents go crazy because they don't even. It's a game of whack-a-mole. Then, right? It's like.
Well,
you
the
said this
problem
was
is he's
untrue.
not a
You said that was
politician.
untrue.
So he's acting as a politician for the first time in his life, and he's 70. So for his entire life, he's been this braggadocious guy who has exaggerated facts and built up this amazing persona and exaggerated wealth, and obviously very successful, but exaggerates that success. So like the thing about him winning the inauguration, you remember that really interesting exchange that he had with a reporter? There was a young reporter, and he was up there saying, we won by the largest margin ever.
The largest margin in the Electoral College.
This guy was like, that's not true.
Yep.
And he
said, well, the largest for
Republican.
a Republican, and
He
that's
said,
also
not true. So he said George H. Bush, or George Herbert Walker Bush, had much larger margin.
Yep.
And so he explained to him, he goes, well, you will agree that we won by a substantial number.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
well, you are the president. Thank you. Like, he was like, good, I won. Tic-tac-toe.
Exactly.
You know, it's just, he's not a politician, and that's what people like about him. You know, but then he starts doing all these different things, like, you know, he's trying to get all these different plants to reopen and give Americans jobs, and they talk about all the jobs that have been created, and people get excited, and he signed this new thing yesterday, you know, American-made, American sales, and trying to encourage people to buy and make American, and then trying to get rid of foreigners that are sneaking over here and doing bad things, and, you know, the base, the people that have been, you know, clamoring for that kind of response get very excited.
That's
and they go,
true.
well, we'll deal with the lies. The lies are fine as long as he opens up that Ford plant. The lies are bad, but look, he got those Guatemalan terrorist drug dealers out of Chicago or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that there's a feeling that the whole people who regard themselves as being custodians of the truth are hoity-toity, out-of-touch elites who've been shitting on the Trump support, the honest, hard-working Trump supporter for so long that they deserve to be slapped in their face with a little bit of untruthful truthiness from time to time.
When
you know,
you
the
see someone
journalists
who's
and the judges and the academics.
people smarter than you.
Yeah.
People more educated than you, and they're
Higher up the
spitting out
social-
facts, and it makes you humiliated.
Yeah.
You feel dumb.
Yeah.
Like the tide goes in, the tide goes out. Can you explain it? It's kind of the same thing.
It
That's the
is.
appeal.
Yeah, that's right.
Bill got him with that tide
Yeah,
thing.
that's right.
There's nothing you can say about that. Tide does go in and go. I mean, people do love when liberals get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
And liberals are really classically associated with education, with higher education, bigger vocabularies,
Well, I mean,
universities.
it's one of the funny things about Trump that he's the anti-elitist, as if it is non-elite to be a Manhattan real estate billionaire. You know,
That's
how is
hilarious.
that? How is that the anti-elite?
You just have to say it. I mean,
Candidate.
remember when George Bush pretended he was from fucking Texas?
A lot of people don't realize
from Maine.
He's from the Northeast. He went to
Kennebunkport,
Yale.
Maine. Yeah.
All he did in Texas was clear brush.
But he
Just
went over
always
there,
clear and brush.
did it when people were looking.
Yep.
The camera's rolling.
Absolutely. Chainsawing down trees.
But it's, you know, it's the American way. You pitch people an image. I mean, it is why they have publicists. It's why.
I mean, when you say, though, that Trump is, like, he's not a politician, and that's what people like about him.
Yeah.
There's the worry is that when you're president of the United States, shit you say has an impact, right? It is an important position. So things that you say can be misinterpreted by the Koreans or the Russians. And there's if you are the president, you should know that people in the executive branch, such as the president, people in the White House, should not disparage people in the judicial branch, right? Because we have a separation of powers in the United States of America. So when he made those comments, for example, about the judiciary, I think a lot of people think like, oh, why is everyone getting their tits in a tangle about just because he said that the judge was, implied that the judge was biased in the Trump University case. It's because presidential candidates shouldn't be shitting on judges.
Right.
Because otherwise you end up with situations like you've got in Venezuela or now in Turkey. They've just had this referendum over the past weekend which gave sort of quasi-dictatorial powers to Turkey's president.
Yeah, in the
We're
last
seeing
2
similar
months,
things happen to Hungary.
Venezuela and Turkey have become dictatorships.
Essentially.
Yeah,
And
pretty
look,
close.
Russia has done that over the past 10 or 15 years. And when you listen to